this is Pigsy, another video. Probably carry on with my theme of doing some emotional stuff. If anything else will pop into my head. So I've been doing some more research on heartbreak and stuff like that. And what do I know? And just the psychology is quite interesting. I mean, for example, men have trouble processing emotional stuff. Possibly because they can often switch on and off on their emotions. When they lack that control, they have a sort of different way of functioning, basically, at an emotional level. So some traumas you can deal really well with, like difficult situations, you know, things that erupt in front of you, or you see a crash or something. Now I don't know this applies for all men, obviously. Different men have different strengths, just the same as women do. I think for women they're able to deal with some different emotional pains quite well, but they have such good memories. They tends to be their vulnerability as well. So for some trauma, they might not heal up so well. But then equally, there's a lot of men there that seem to have caught up. They got sort of fixated in one area, and so they're not able to heal. They've got to go through some process of where they have to reject things, and they have to realise now. Men are probably not so good. Women are very good at lying to your face. Okay, they can tell you one thing or another. They're quite good at that because, to be honest, it can be quite hard to read their body language sometimes. Sometimes it's too obvious though. It depends how. If somebody thinks they're too smart in a lie, and you've got a feeling they're lying, you don't tell them. You just let them continue, and they just make themselves look more sillier as they go. Now, a lot of things with the guys is they most likely lie to themselves, and we do this all the time. We have a part of our brain that rewrites the narratives. So, your day out, depending on how you felt, or how you see it in your head, and you might write something on Facebook like a great night out, or whatever, but it might have just been an ordinary night out. It may have not actually been as good as you thought it was, or actually, if anyone else witnessed it, it would appear to be. It's just that at the time you're enjoying yourself, and that seems to have overlaid into your memories, and then you've written in memories in your head where you might have thought you were really good, and you thought you was popular, or you thought whatever sort of gets you in a positive state of mind. And then equally, some people have, they could go somewhere really nice, but if they're on a bit of a downer, doesn't matter. I mean, it'll improve them short term, but long term, they just, they still won't see the experience as brilliant. I think I had this sort of feeling. Where was I? I think I was. Yeah, I had a few different things. I think at the time I was in South Africa, and I just wasn't quite right. I was dealing with something else at the time, and even though I was there and enjoying myself, it was quite a relaxing place. But it's just heaviness and niggling in your heart. You think, what's all this? But it gets better. It depends how much you do it. I think it gets easier to deal with. Like this is probably. I mean, I liked YouTube, but I probably wasn't studying stuff like this on YouTube 10 years ago or something. So it's opened this new avenue of learning, which is quite good. At least you can tap into different sources of research around things, and also sort of the what happens in relationships when they change, and let's say the psychology. Trying to connect with your heart. It's trying to make better use of your heart, and you realise maybe there's things in your body that you just ignore, and maybe they need more maintenance. I don't think anyone does like a maintenance check and just sits there and goes through their different feelings. So the Raja Yoga was interested with different energy points relating to different feelings. So I might have a look at that, and especially if you feel things. Like for instance, if you tend to feel anxious at a certain energy point in your body, wouldn't it be worth it when you're not anxious working with that energy point to improve that relationship you have with that? It may make you more anxious or less. Depends. You've got to work through it. It's where it builds up. and well, there's a blockage, and that's a problem. I found out about the subtle effects of Raja Yoga as well, and that I was using my third eye to see my heart, and I don't need to do that. I could just sense it, and if you want to build up a more stronger sensory perception of your organs and emotional health, then you've got to use your different senses. Like, it sounds weird, what would your heart taste like? So you can imagine it probably tastes pretty much like a tongue. It's probably smooth as a tongue if you could have like a touch sense in it. But having that emotional sense of how it feels as the organ, as the shape of it. I know you get feelings inside your body, you get feedback like you get, tension here, it's hot, it's cold, it's tense, it's soft there, it aches. But there's deeper things you could have, like what the shape of that feeling is, and being able to, if you visualise what it looks like, you're using that third eye thing. If you're feeling it, you're sensing how far it spreads out. And things like your heart, even though there's a physical organ, in that sort of spiritual dimension where you got your chakra energy points and things like that floating around, and you're just you look like a nebula of energy. No, it doesn't have to necessarily be fixed there. This might be why people have, it's like their roadmap's a bit different. So that's why they feel things a certain way, or they're anxious, because their physical overlay of their body and their spiritual one might be slightly out of a line. Yeah, that's where I'm going from it. Oh well, if we go this way, it's more fun. Where's this guy going? Alright, he's stuck, is he? Never know what's going on in traffic. So yeah, so maybe the alignment of our energy centres are slightly off. There could be spiritual conditions that we're not even aware of. So, we're looking at doing your deep sort of spiritual connection stuff. Like, can you sense where your energy points are in your body, and do they feel like they should be where they should be? Or can you move them? What can you do with your mind when you tune it in at a spiritual level? So when there's an opportunity where you go for any discomfort or any experience, illness, whatever, there's also an opportunity to grow. So it's taking that road for development and understanding. So I think, in myself, I think everything's worked out for the better. And it's probably not just the ego there, it's just, you might realise that possibly you could have sacrificed a hell of a lot of energy for someone, and you wouldn't necessarily get the same return. You'd see benefit from it, and you feel good about yourself. But there may be something would have been missing there, and it's probably unfair on you and unfair on them. We all got to find our own path in this life, I guess, and that's one of the things. And also the psychology that we've been fed in films, like this idea there's this perfect partner out there and stuff like that. Some of it's just work in progress. If you think someone's perfect, that mould will be in your head. It may not ever manifest in reality. It'll be what you want them to be, and it may be a type of war that you can never win. Some people, there's some people, like I've mentioned before, that you get some guys and they look like they were quite butch at one point, and they seem to have lost something. They just do what they're told. Basically, they've been groomed into these husbands that are like husband-stroke bodyguards, and I don't know. They just seem to be a part of this person. They seem to lack something. And I saw this before in the past. I was doing some work for the council, and there was a manhole cover or something that was missing outside someone's house. So I took my camera out, a digital camera for it. They'd use this at work, note it down, take pictures. We need to document evidence and stuff like that. So I did. And what happened is that I started taking pictures of it, and I was trying to get a good angle with the lights on, and this guy flew out and he thought I was taking pictures of it was through his window. And I said, he sort of looked angry. I looked at it. I said, there, that's what I'm taking a picture of. The manhole. You know, I didn't bother to get to looking at it. And he said, oh, I don't know. He wanted to have an argument, but there wasn't one there. And his wife come out. And then she said, oh, so what are you taking pictures of? And I said, there's a manhole. Oh, the manhole. And then he kind of, like the guard dog, went back indoors. He didn't apologise for coming out and misreading the situation. Understandably, nobody would like some peeping Tom. But as I looked over towards the curtain, you couldn't see anything anyway. The room was all blacked out. It's not like they had a bright light inside there. And it was showing me all this stuff, so there wasn't anything there anyway. And yeah, so it was quite interesting. Is there anything else on energy points? Just trying to think. Probably not. So that's my main research, and sometimes if I feel tension or stress before I want to go to sleep, because sometimes things come into your head at the wrong time. And I mentioned about the mind, part of the mind lies all the time. So, you know, when you want to say sorry and you would say anything to kind of get back what you might have lost, that you imagine you'd lost, or to get the best outcome for yourself, because that's what you're built to do. You're built for survival. So if there's a chance you could lie, and your brain would just rewrite itself. Men are brilliant at it. But you know, when I notice things like when my mum's annoyed at my dad, she can bring up 20 years worth of stuff that he can't remember. He's not going to get into a conversation like, because some of it you think, well, that's probably true. I don't know. I'm just going to avoid this thing. But it seems that interesting, that bottled trauma. I mean, I don't know if men would do the same. If they got upset, they're more upset at the one event. Their singularities focus like you've done something that's destroyed me. And I think it's very important though to take note of your emotional health. If you're not in the right place, don't engage in communication. Get yourself in the right space. If somebody makes you angry, then you've got to say to yourself, it's toxic. It's a toxic relationship. It's not working. If they don't make you angry, and maybe you feel other sorts of things, different toxics effects like guilt, and you know, you can't. I think you have to accept what you've done with your life and created. And I mean, there's probably chances for things to happen, and if they don't happen, then you just move on. But it's nice to have at least a decent relationship with everyone you meet. You don't want to be in a sort of situation where if you see the person, you've got to cross the road and got to avoid them, or you see each other and you get scared or something. You don't want that anxious or anxiety kicks in. Anyway, so that's thoughts of Pigsy. Nothing too special there. I think the spiritual stuff's quite interesting. So that's what I'm more developing into, looking at yoga. I might go to some other different type of yoga next week and just compare the two. You know, so it might be interesting to say, well, this is the technique we do when we do yoga. You've got to do breathing exercises, or, you know, you've got to do some mantra or something. I'll find out anyway, so it'll be pretty cool. Anyway, take care and speak to you soon.